Hey friends, Sam here, and I am so excited to share this episode with you today. We're talking about mompreneur mom guilt. It's real, it's vicious, and you know what? It's just so silly. So ladies, I'm going to lead you today in letting go of this mom guilt. I'm going to share with you a little bit of my story, but also encourage you in these main myths of mompreneur mom guilt and why you need to let go of it now. Well, hello, my friends. It's just me today, just Sam with you, because we're going to have a real talk about mom guilt. Yep. This has been and will always be a recurring topic for women, mothers, and entrepreneurs wearing many hats. So I find this topic frustrating, if I can just be honest with you. Not because it's not real. Man, mom guilt is so real. And coming from a mom of 4 children and having that very stretched out, meaning that I had my first child when I was 27 and my last when I was 37, that whole decade of having children, I was also a new entrepreneur at the very beginning. So I've worn all the hats and I've had all the struggles that, all moms are out there that are trying to do all the things are feeling. And mom guilt is one of those things that takes so many brilliant, talented women out of the game of creation, just to be honest. And now I'm not saying that every mom is meant to be also an entrepreneur, because that's not the case. But there are so many women out there, so many moms, that they do have this longing in their heart to create or contribute or just, get out there and experiment with life a little. But when you are a mom, the struggle is that your priority is always your children. And that's such a great thing. But when you have something that takes up such a large piece of your heart, that's when the struggle enters. But it's not just, there's just so many things that contribute to this. So let me kind of explain. I'll take you back a little bit into my journey. So when I was 26, Harold and I decided that we were going to become small business owners, and we began the process of opening our gym. By the time I was 27, that gym was finished, and we were so excited because it was like our baby, right? And then we found out we were actually having a baby, which was just one of the most beautiful blessings and surprises. We were married. We knew that we wanted to have children, so it wasn't like, that it completely threw us out of the loop of just, our plans and everything. But we didn't have plans to open a business and have a baby practically at the same time. And in my head, just to be honest of, what I thought that we would open this business. We would take about 5 years to get it up and going. And then we would maybe talk about having a baby, and I would probably just have one. I mean, don't we all just have those kind of plans in our head where we think we're going to know exactly how it goes? If I can just be honest, I told myself, you'll never be that mom, that stops being herself or stops contributing or stops working even. You're not going to be that mom, Sam. You're going to be able to figure this all out. And then I had the most beautiful baby girl on May 29th in 2008. And I fell madly in love. And I knew my life would never be the same. And I was so grateful because I knew that was going to be the biggest blessing of my life, being a mother. And as she got just slightly older, by the time she was 3 months, and it was time to find childcare and so that I could go back to work a little bit more, I felt a feeling I had never felt. I felt like I didn't want to go back to work. I didn't want to go back to that gym. I wanted to spend time with her. And so actually, one of the first times that I experienced mom guilt was one of the best things for me. It actually led me to realizing that I wanted to work, but I didn't want to work away from my child. And so if I hadn't experienced that guilt, I wouldn't have been provoked to look for another solution. I would probably today be still a small business owner. And if I hadn't had children, but to be honest, I would probably feel very unfulfilled because that business was a blessing, but wasn't meant to be the long game. And had it not been for having my first child and feeling that tug on my heart, then I don't think we'd be where we are today. I don't think we would have made the pivot or the change in our lifestyles and in our career path. So I looked for an at-home business and I found it. And I thought, you know what? You're going to be like Martha Stewart and Betty Crocker all in one, working from home, taking care of your kids. And then another baby comes and I'm on number 2. And the laundry keeps piling up and the dishes keep piling up. And I've got phone calls and messages and I just feel so scattered. And the reality was, although I got to spend more time with my children working from home, it didn't necessarily just make things easier. I had to get really, really clear on what I wanted. I hear women all the time. They come to me and they ask me, how do you do it all? I think the number one solution in navigating mom guilt is realizing that you can't do it all. So that was probably my biggest mistake. My biggest mistake was thinking that by leaving a very physical, in-person job that I had as being a small business owner and a personal trainer and all the things that I did there, I thought that by coming home, I would be able to do it all better. A lot of our mom guilt is coming from you feeling inadequate in doing things that you can't necessarily do all by yourself, or having an expectation of yourself that is so far from what you can actually complete in a day, a week, a month, or even a year, to be honest. I feel like if we didn't have this expectation on us as women and as moms to be superwoman all the time, I don't know if mom guilt would even exist. But whether someone has put it on you or you've put it on yourself, we have this superwoman complex. And for a lot of people that we coach and mentor and women that are building businesses from home, there's going to be so many blessings, but there's going to be so many of you that want to quit just simply because you feel like you can't work and get the laundry done. You feel like you've got your phone in front of your face instead of being in front of your children's faces. The second mistake that I made from building an at-home business while also raising and having children was I felt guilty for working. There was times I felt guilty for being on my computer, from being on my phone. And I had this complex that if I wasn't giving my children 100% of my attention, 100% of the time, that I was a bad mom, that I wasn't prioritizing them. In reality, what that was pointing out for me was that I needed to have work boundaries. What did I need to do for myself that you can do for yourself to make yourself feel good about the fact that both you can be home with your children and building a business? Is you need to know that you have work hours. Just as if you left your home for work, you would have check-in time and you would have a checkout time and you should have a lunch time, hopefully, right? So should we not just comply by labor laws, right? Do you not get to eat? Do you not get to have breakfast with your family or dinner? But the thing is, mamas, when you are a mompreneur, you're going to always put yourself last unless you know that you shouldn't. And so if you don't want to feel guilty about working from home when your children are home, then you have to set up standards for when you are working first. Then next, you have to get really real with yourself, just like I did. I realized that being a good mom didn't mean that I had to be with my kids or completely interacting with them 100% of the time. In fact, The lie there and that mom guilt was that if I were doing that, I would be coddling my kids constantly. I would be that helicopter mom that never let them experience, a little bit of solitude, a little bit of having to learn how to play by yourself. They wouldn't get to experience tapping into their creative minds. I watch my 6-year-old all the time when he plays, and I am mesmerized by how he could be literally strapped into a car seat. We're going somewhere, and he can put himself into this own world, I'm sure, full of Avengers and superheroes because he's a 6-year-old boy. It's always so cool. But he has the ability to do that. And you know what? So do our little girls. And there's times where when I remove myself from that picture and I allowed them to tap into their creativity. Or if you have siblings that are home, and there's multiple ones as we do, it allows them the time to bond and to play together. And here's the other thing. If you're a mompreneur and you're just getting started, yes, there's going to be times where you put your kids in front of Disney Junior or there's this really cool app, Minnow, that is all Christian-based children's TV shows and different things, or Veggie Tales, or maybe your favorite Disney movie. You know what? Because maybe you can't afford a babysitter just yet. Maybe you can afford a nanny or Mother's Day out. But you know that in that hour and a half that they're watching a movie, you can laser in and get so much done. So the mom guilt of thinking that you need to be in front of your kids all the time is not actually helping them. And it wouldn't have actually helped my kids. And so when I got really real with that, with myself, all of a sudden, some pressure was gone again. Then there's the mom guilt about actually asking for and receiving help. You see, that how do you do it all thing? Again, you don't. Yeah, sure, we're pretty super women and we can do incredible things, but you are not one person, and no thriving family or business is built upon one person's back. That's a house of cards, ladies, okay? And I built it. I really, for a season, felt like if I asked for or received help in any way, that I was a failure. From silly things like cleaning my own toilets. Like I felt like I had to do that. I wanted this badge on my shoulder or on my chest, or like it was an accomplishment. And I don't know where I picked that up from in life, trying probably to meet many people's expectations of how I should be a good mother or how I should also be a good business owner. But I had major hangups about admitting I couldn't do it all. So how many of you ladies are out there right now having a hard time admitting that you can't do it all? Probably a lot, I would imagine. And then even more so, admitting that you would like some help. And here's the last caveat to this is, I also just wanted my husband to help. Like I expected him to. I thought that if I couldn't get all the dishes done and do health assessments and work with coaches and work social media and do all the following up, that if dishes fell in the nook and crannies of things and didn't get done, like I had an expectation without even verbalizing it, to be honest, that my husband should pick up the slack, that he should be the one doing it. And the reality is we didn't even have a conversation about that. And so all this stuff can kind of spiral together as bitterness and resentment and can just filter into so many different areas of your life. When in reality, what we really need to do first is have the conversation with ourselves. We need to have the conversation with our spouse, and then we need to seek outside help. Okay. So one of the first things that I did that was one of the best things was I hired a house cleaner to come to our house at first once a month. And do you know what? That was such a relief. And it took me probably a couple of months to not feel guilty about someone cleaning my house for me. Crazy, right? But the reality is I was helping her. I was helping someone else build their business and their livelihood. And once I looked at it that way, I felt very proud of the fact that I had a skill to both be mom and mompreneur and provide someone a job and income while I was providing my family an income. So once I wrapped my head around that, outsourcing became one of the best things that we could have ever done. It led to a little bit of help with the children through Mother's Day Out programs. Shout out to Mother's Day Out programs. They're amazing. Because the reality was for me, when I was working on my business in those earlier years, I didn't need full-time childcare. That was really the goal, was with the other myth that I explained about thinking you need to be in front of your kids all the time. The reality was I just didn't want to feel like I was never with them. Like before I worked at home, I worked Monday through Saturday, early hours, late hours, because that was the nature of a personal training business. The reality was I just didn't want it to be like that again. And so when I admitted that I needed a little bit of help with the kids, I needed them out the house just maybe 2 days a week, 2 or 3 days a week for a short amount of time so I could really focus. Then our business began to grow too. So by releasing a little bit of that and saying, you know what, I don't need 5 days a week of childcare, but I would really love 2 days a week from 9 to 12 or 3 days a week from 9 to 12. And making that pivot there allowed me to focus again, creating boundaries for both where work fit in and where mom life fit in. I think if we really, ladies, I think if we sat with our thoughts, I think if you wrote it down, in fact, that's what I would love for you to do. If you're listening to this podcast or watching it on YouTube right now, I want you to get a piece of paper and a pen. And I don't want you to go spending 10 minutes trying to find the perfect notebook with the perfect pen. You need to just grab what is in front of you. And I want you to write down everything that you're feeling guilty about in relation to being a mom and having a business. Okay? And as you write all these things out, and I just want you to just brainstorm it, just get it all out on paper. But as you write these things down, I want you to take a good hard look at it. And I want you to ask yourself for each one of those things as you go down that paper, is it true? And is it helpful? And what's the solution? See, sometimes mom guilt is just our way of sabotaging ourselves. But really what it is it's a fear. And what are you afraid of? Are you afraid that your kids are going to get down the road and later say, oh, my mom was such a bad mom. She built this business from home and didn't give us any attention or time. Or, you know, when I thought that, because that was one of my fears. And when I looked at my children and I really sat with that thought, I realized I was like, my kids are not going to say that. You know why? Because I am not a bad mom. I am a great mom. You know why I know my kids aren't going to say that? Because I'm building this business for them. And every step of the way, every time that my business grows, our life expands. And because I also have an intention to put a whole lot of effort and energy into our business to get it way over the hill and up the mountain to generate the life that we really desire and deserve, so that I don't always have to work as hard as I'm working now. You see, moms, some of you are going to hold on to this guilt like it's a badge, okay? Like it's a badge of honor, but it's not. And in reality, it's just keeping you at a pace that is much slower than what you're actually capable of going. And it's keeping you from having breakthrough and victories at a pace that you are fully capable of, and also discerning at which is the right time to pump the brakes a little bit. You see, when I let go of all the mom guilt and all the things, and I finally just put my foot down and pushed the pedal to the metal, man, I was able to, in a short amount of time, actually start pulling my foot up off the gas for a season and say, you know what? No, I don't think that I'm going to work evenings, or I don't think I'm going to sacrifice bedtimes anymore because I don't have to. I don't think that I'm going to be working weekends a whole lot anymore. I'm going to take a break from social media. I am going to bring my kids to school every day of the week. You see, when you work and you build your dreams, not just other people's dreams, then you get to truly to build the life that you want to live with your children. But on the reverse, if we sit here constantly defending our mom guilt over finding the solution and looking actually at the reality, then we're not going to be building the life of our dreams. You see, what we fear is actually going to be our victory. You know, moms, you are capable. You are strong and you are talented. You are not meant to live this life or build a business by yourself. You are worth having a community. You are worth being both mom and entrepreneur. You are worth being both mom and also leader, motivator, inspiration. And you know what? We're going to wrap this up with this. I thought about all the amazing women I knew and know, and all the incredible parents out there, not just the moms. But I think about the impact that we have on our children when we show them that we can be more than just one thing. I looked at my daughters and I look at my son and I asked myself, what if you listen to our story in our first episode, I looked at my girls and said, what if one day they're an adult and they find themselves in the same place? What if I gave up? What if I didn't build this business? And when they're adults and they find themselves struggling in their marriage or in their business or in their finances, they don't know they can because I didn't. Sure, I want all 4 of my children to know that they can be stay-at-home parents or that they can be dentists or lawyers or equestrians, or you just throw something out there. I want them to know they can be whatever they want to be. But I also want them to know they can pivot. When life gets hard, I want them to know that they can both be a parent and they can be entrepreneurs or whatever it is that they really need to be in order to make their life better for themselves and their children. Because parents, ladies, when we limit ourselves, we're limiting our children. So if you can't let go of your mom guilt for yourself, I want to encourage you, let go of it today for your children.